Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Kristopher Dahir. He's the Republican candidate for Secretary of State. He's also a Sparks City Councilman. Here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. Entertainment here at the Carson Valley Inn is extraordinary.
Yeah, super proud of the TJ's Corral, our outdoor venue, about 1,500 seats. We've had first-class entertainment out there. We've had Merle Haggard, we've had Chris Young, we've had Lee Brice a couple times, we've had Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're real proud out there, and it's just a great time. Watch CarsonValleyInn.com and grab those tickets early. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're pleased to welcome to the program for the first time Kristopher Dahir, and his last name is actually spelled D-A-H-I-R, but it's pronounced Dahir. He's the Republican candidate for Secretary of State. He's also a Sparks City Councilman. Pleasure to have you on the program, sir.
Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
And you're also a pastor.
I am. I've been a pastor for 30 years, actually, which is crazy because I feel like I'm 30 years old. But
don't we all? But looking in the mirror tells you a different story.
Yes.
We have a lot of things I want to get to. First thing I want to ask you about, and I know you're friends with her, is what do you think of Barbara Sagaski's performance during this last election cycle and her willingness to report things straight down the middle? I mean, you know, she really acted, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, as Secretary of State in a nonpartisan way. And she has my undying respect for that.
Without question. And I think it's even a bigger picture. I think whenever we look at anything someone's doing now, what's their track record? Who are they? What have they done? She served our state for 27, 28 years in elected places. And from what I've heard back in the day, was quite the go get it done.
Oh, she's and that's kind of my point. For those that may not know, you know, Barbara Sagaski is a conservative firebrand and has been for many, many years. And for her to take the position she took after the election really said a lot about her character.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that, and I've told her that personally. I've invited her on the program, and I hope that one of these days that she will come on and talk about all that she went through with this. But I think that take away the party affiliation, she is an example of what a Secretary of State should be, as have been other Secretaries of State in the state
And
of
I actually do agree with you. And part of it is I just think some people don't understand the job of Secretary of State. And I'm not being...
How do you define it?
Well, you're the notary. You are the... If you were back in the days of the kings, we'd have a signet ring for our state and we'd stamp it. But the only thing we're allowed to stamp is that which is the check marks. so these are the different things I need to make sure are in place. If those are in place, the county brings us the vote and we stamp it. Now, we do get to help with voter rolls, and there's different things that we get to be involved with, but ultimately, counties are responsible for those votes, and legislators make the law, and the governor approves it. And then we enforce and follow that. That's what we get to check. Those are the check marks we get to look at, which is kind of exciting, and we can get more into in a little bit. There's a lot of new check marks coming very soon that would help people feel more comfortable and hopefully take away some of this feeling we have of questioning the vote.
Okay, well, give us some examples.
Oh yeah, for sure. So AB 321, and I know that so I've even heard somebody yesterday said, well, if the Democrats came up with it, I'm not going to like it. I said, well, slow down. I can tell you, I think everyone in the U.S. we need to have fair votes. This is a democracy. I love our country, and to me, it has to come down to the very end that we have something in place that's there. So some of the things, AB 321 has a lot of regulations that are about to go through, and here's a stack of them right here, actually, and I've read through every one of them. Some of them aren't strong enough. I mean, I say that. There's some that I would like to work on when it comes to adjudicated votes. There's some language in there that sounds, that's like, well, if the county wants to, and I don't think I think some of these things should be more addressed, like, no, this is how the county will do this. But there's a few of those. The rest of this actually looks pretty solid, and it gives some of the questions people are having at least a process that all the counties are agreeing to and will follow. Now, it hasn't gone through legislation yet, because that's the thing I like to remind people. Secretary of State does not make law. We cannot make everyone do this. We can't make law. We can actually just make sure if this is what was said, this is what we can notarize, and this is what we can stamp. And based upon those understandings, again, she did her job, and she'd do the job every one of us would have to do. It's not about whether I can sit back and say, man, that looks strange, or I didn't like that, or I don't like the outcome. I mean, there's things even as a city councilman I didn't vote for, but I get to now enforce in my city because I was 1-4 and I was the one there, And so it comes to law or policies, it's how we work. And I know some people don't like that, but I guarantee it's a lot better than having chaos and having, not having regulations in place.
Okay, there are a lot of people, especially Democrats, who are concerned across the country and here in Nevada because of 24-hour news, we are able to see what's going on across the country about attempts at voter suppression.
Yes.
What concerns do you have regarding potential voter suppression?
Well, I think we all should be concerned about any of those things, voter suppression, because I think most people, when it comes to wanting to win something, some people will do almost anything to win. And so I think that's where Secretary of State's office does get to stand up and keep things open. So without question, we need to make sure that if someone wants to vote and they have the right to vote, and that we keep that open. To me, I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, nonpartisan, or whatever. For me, I want to make sure that we create something great for our kids and the next generation. Now, there are things, though, that I question. Ballot harvesting used to be illegal. I mean, the words were illegal. We don't do that. And now I could go down to a place and collect votes. It's to me, those kind of stretches are too far. Now, not everything in the ballot harvesting bill is actually bad. Some of it was just a reinforcement of if somebody's sick, you can go in and get an affidavit. Those kind of things make 100% sense. That's not the problem. I know there's a lot of talk about voter ID. That's one of the things. It's not in this bill, and it's not even being proposed. Matter of fact, with mail-in ballots, I don't even know how it would work anyway. But amongst a lot of Republicans, voter ID, and I actually agree with voter ID. I think 80% of our populace would agree with that, from my understanding. Now, with that said, I still think even with voter ID, there are ways to set it up where people still get to vote, but their vote sits in a place that if there's ever a question, we have to come back, we can really check on it. And so I don't think any of our accountability needs to remove someone from voting. I think it should keep those doors open.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if you had voter ID requirements, like a photo ID, for example, and somebody was not able to provide that, they would still be able to get to vote, but their ballot would be kept in a place that was easily accessible if there was a challenge.
Yeah, if there was a challenge, because if somebody won by 200 votes and there's only 100 in this stack, these people didn't make a difference anyway. We don't have to worry about that. But if somebody lost by 14 votes, like happened in Vegas, they could stop and say, hold on a second, let's go look through these and make sure we're accurate, which is what we want. I think we have to come down to make sure that we are promising, to the best of our ability, a fair and safe election, since people are running. And not only that, as electeds, I'm honored to be an elected officer for 6 years now. We work really hard to try to get out there and serve the community. I can't say why everyone does it, but I know for me, I'm here to serve. There's a lot of things we could be doing, but
okay. Well, let me ask you about a specific here, because you know, with the accusations of voter fraud, people, you know, there was only one case that really came out, and the person who made the complaint was actually the person who fraudulently voted.
Yes.
On the other side of this, I've talked to Todd Story when he was with the ACLU. He says 10% of Nevadans don't have ID, which stuns me, because I don't know how you live in this world without ID. And so, to my mind, that's something that if we're going to move towards some kind of voter ID beyond what we currently have, that we need to ensure that that 10% has ID so they can vote.
Without question. There's a lot of
reasons. At no
reasons.
cost to them, by the way.
Totally. I do a lot of work with our homeless and some of our most vulnerable populations as well, between being a pastor and then what I do here. And so I don't disagree that there's ways that need to be in place to make sure people can get that ID. But that is not just for that. That's so they can go to work. That's so they can have other things in place as well, because we want to make sure that does happen.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with Kristopher Dahir. He's a Republican candidate for Secretary of State. He's also a Sparks City Councilman after this time.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Kristopher Dahir. He's the Republican candidate for Secretary of State. And because you're going to see his name on the ballot and on billboards, I just want to point out again that his last name is actually spelt D-A-H-I-R, but it's pronounced Dahir. And you're a Sparks City Councilman. So you also sit on the Washoe County Health Department Board.
Yes.
So I have a conundrum for you. And I'm going to throw it, I'm not going to put it in the personal, I'm just going to put it in the general, okay? So when you get your vaccines, you get a CDC vaccination card, right? You have to carry that card, the original card, around with you. If you got it laminated, that is not accepted by United Airlines, for example, for international travel. They will tell you, it's like your passport, you can't have it laminated. So people are carrying around their original cards. If you lose your card, if you spill coffee on it, whatever, or get it laminated by mistake, currently the Washoe County Health Department refuses to issue a replacement card, and I don't get that. And I've talked to the Public Information Officer, who was very kind to respond to me, and they are concerned about fraudulence in terms of these cards, and obviously that's another issue. That's one of the reasons why they want to have originals at places like, when you're traveling internationally. But I, for example, went to Senator Reid's memorial service in Las Vegas, and the Secret Service totally accepted. I actually brought both with me because I was kind of curious. I have a laminated version and I have the original. Kept the laminated version in my pocket, handed in the I'm sorry, kept the original in my pocket, gave them the laminated version. Secret Service accepted it, but I can't go to Amsterdam with that card. So what my question is for you, and maybe you're going to have to do some research and get back to me, is we have to have a way in Washoe County to be able to get replacement cards for people for one reason or another that can prove that they are either on the state registry, which we all are, to get a replacement card, because that CDC card, whether anybody nationally likes it or not, is the vaccination passport.
Well, that's interesting. You know, mine is laminated.
Right.
So I didn't
don't try going traveling,
I didn't
buddy.
even know that. That's funny you say that. I went to Mexico, but they didn't care. They actually only cared that you had a test on the way out. You know,
and that you have money.
Yeah, and that you have money. Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
But you know, I would say that my answer, without question, is that we need to look into it. And I actually, that's something I can. This is where I can help.
I know, because you're on the board.
I'll actually bring it up.
That's the reason. Because I called the state. I called Department of Health and Human Services, and they said it has to come from the place that originated the vaccine. And in a particular instance I'm aware of, it was the Washoe County Health Department, and that's why I've had the conversation with them. And you can print out your vaccination record from the state, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
You show that somewhere that they want that CDC card. And in California, you can apply and get a replacement card. And I know that there are other hospitals and pharmacies that you can get a replacement card, but Washoe County Health Department, they say no. Okay, I'll move on. I'll just leave that with you, and if you wouldn't mind,
I definitely will report
I'd be
back.
happy to have you come back on and talk to me about it.
Yeah, because I think it's just such a new, we're going from this is an emergency to we have a new normal of some sort, and so we're going to need to.
Okay, it's my only pet peeve of the day. Let's
Fair
get to
enough.
something that's definitely very important. Just spent some time in Northern California, in San Francisco and Oakland. And the situation with the homeless there is beyond tragic. The homeless camps in Oakland near Jack London Square, which has become a major redeveloped area, is just terrible. They're using new construction as a way to move some of these homeless camps away from where they are. The smash and grabs that are occurring, where people just pull up to a car in broad daylight in front of people, smash a car, grab your things out of the car, whether you're in it or not at tourist destinations. And then I look at the homeless situation in the Reno Sparks area and in Las Vegas, and my concern is that we're getting all this good stuff coming from California to Nevada, but it's in jeopardy if this homeless situation gets worse.
So I work with National League of Cities, so I get to work with city councilmen and mayors across the whole state. I'd like to say that it's just the West Coast. This is actually a nationwide issue, and you do see hotter pockets along warmer climate weather, and where laws are more less restrictive for people. And so there's a balance in all of this. There are some very interesting judicial conclusions that have happened that have brought some of this on, of what is allowed and what's not allowed and what we can do and can't do. But still, jurisdictions have some approaches they can do if you have the right people in leadership. So I can tell you, like here, if you go along the city of Sparks, we have some, and we're working on it. We have a thing called Hope Team. Now this Hope Team, we love the approach because we're not really busting people like that, but we are constantly finding ways to get them what they need.
And what is it that they need?
So it depends. The hardest part is it's so different.
Of course.
Yeah, so, but it has to do with resources. Some of them, all of it for us is pushing them to a place, and I mean that, of getting some help so they can have a place to live, they can potentially get a job. Now, mental health is such a huge, huge conversation, and this is where I'm in a lot of these conversations right now, working on things. I mean, we have groups that are going out of business right here in town, leaving. We have we have to make sure we robustly step up in this area, because they really do need caseworkers. They need someone who's going to pay attention to the details, because they won't or can't do it on their own. So I know there's a lot of questions regarding the large camp we've even done here, the camping, the other things, but there is a bigger plan. The recipe's still in the middle of making this. Washoe County has officially taken over in our area as the lead, which should have been in the beginning because they are the ones who get the finances for that particular thing. The cities have stepped up and we come alongside. We're not disappearing. I'm one of the ones that helped start CHAB, the Community Homelessness Advisory Board, because before that we were a transitional housing board, which we didn't do anything except listen to sad stories and walk away and be like, man, this is rough. Since then, homelessness has just went boom. So I'm really glad that we put this in place, but the ultimate goal is to create a place where all of our nonprofits and our businesses and our community leaders can come together and make sure that we are trying to make good decisions together. And so there's a lot of, as much as you might see certain things or hear different things on the news, we have gotten more people in this last 1.5 to 2 years into homes, into places than we ever have.
So you're optimistic?
I am. I am. However, nothing moves as fast as I need. I'd rather be here right now. These are real people's lives that I value. I value people. But I also value the citizen who wants to walk their kid at the park and shouldn't have to worry about stepping on a needle. So as a city councilman, I don't get to just have one hat on. I get to work at both. So we very much care about this and we want to make sure that's there. But I do think we're moving forward. It's not a problem that's just going to go away, but I think we can have better and better things in place as long as we continue to work together.
All right, let's take another break. Back with Kristopher Dahir. He is the Republican candidate for Secretary of State and a Sparks City Councilman. We'll be right back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. At Design Outdoor, we specialize in all hardscapes, pavers, and walls you'll need for everything, from wonderful small yards to full-blown outdoor living. And we only refer the best contractors to make your vision a reality. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and because I represent men in all family law matters, women often call me gender traitor, woman hater, and even disgusting. So why represent men and target myself with these offensive monikers? It's simple. Children with fathers in their lives are 6 times less likely to drop out of school, 15 times less likely to go to prison, and 5 times less likely to commit suicide. So ladies, you can hate me, but please love your children more than you hate their fathers.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. And a lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue a conversation with Kristopher Dahir. He's the Republican candidate for Secretary of State. He's also a Sparks City Councilman. We got so much snow, unbelievable amounts of snow. I mean, the percentages are so high at this point. I'm a former TV weatherman, did it for 23 years, so I'm very, very familiar with reporting on snow and water, etc. We're in darn good shape. I mean, you sit on TUMWA, the Truckee Meadows Water Authority. Yeah. They already had a very lengthy drought supply already in place. This is not hurting. It's going to help fill, or at least partially, if not further fill Lake Tahoe and all the reservoirs. Does it drive you crazy when every time we get a big storm or a massive rainfall that the news reports then say, yeah, but it's barely put a dent in the drought, which is nonsense?
It's funny you say that. I just read a paper today that said exactly what you did, and
it's nonsense.
And I said, I said, what? Well, in what they're saying, if they would just stop, the South has a very different situation.
Absolutely.
And they do,
although the Colorado basin is doing better this year. It's not great, but it's better than it has been.
But what we have up here is not even the same. We don't even have
Right.
the same laws because we have the TROA agreement. And so I've been the vice chair of TUMWA
That's
for
the
the last...
Truckee River Operating Agreement, just so people know. Okay.
Yes, so and so I tell you what we do there is significant, but we are doing all kinds of things to make it so when we do go through a couple years where there's not rain, which is normal for cycles, this is not abnormal.
We have a drought every year. It's called summer.
It's true. It's true. And then we have this. Now, where we get in more trouble is if you start seeing a warm cloud come from down in the down in the warm area to hit the snow. That's a rough time for us.
Because
That's
potential flooding.
Flooding and things like that. And that's. But again, you're so right. We have a lot of reserve right now.
I'm watching the Lake Tahoe gauge to see how much water we have above the baseline for Lake Tahoe, and it seems to me that the watermaster, the federal watermaster, has to be releasing a lot of water down the Truckee to make room, to make sure that if we get a couple of more storms like this, there's plenty of room to avoid the flooding. Am I correct on that?
Exactly. That's his job to do. He keeps up with that, and once it gets to a certain level, they'll let more go or less, and that's the gauge. And we just hope, we do expect some more storms. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's January.
Exactly.
It's we're taping this on what, the 14th?
Miracle March has not
13th.
even happened.
yeah. So we have a long ways to go. Yeah. A real pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you very
sir.
much for doing this. I look forward to your campaign, and we'll have debates, and we'll have you back.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com. Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you. As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.